Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Ian Jasper Plata, and I am here to deliver you a basic, fundamental, yet highly rewarding skill in a clinical setup, and that is your airway management. Making sure that there's a clear path on the air to move in and out of the lungs in a critical scenario can make the difference between life and death. So let's start our case. So welcome to your airway management station. I would like to start by giving you the three types of airway. An airway can be open, maintainable, or non-maintainable. When you talk about an open airway, let's make it simple. The air can go in and out of the lungs. What do you see? Air can go in, then that means I can see a definitive chest rise on my patient. What do I hear? That means air can go out, the patient can speak. And that is making an airway open, determining an open airway. But sometimes you have to understand that airway becomes problematic. I'll give you an example. Respiratory condition, respiratory infection, secretion starts to build on the patient's airway. So the airway that is open becomes covered with secretion, and now you have a problematic airway. So what do we need to do? We need to maintain the airway so it becomes open. And how do you maintain an airway that is filled with secretion? Of course, that's when the airway management starts to set in, and we will now go and do suctioning. Okay, now when you talk about suctioning, there are two tips that I want you to be worried about. One is the rigid, okay, the rigid tip, okay, that is your Yang cover, and the other one is your soft tip, which is your suction catheter. Okay, now when you talk about the rigid catheter, it is for who? It is for where? It is for oral secretions, okay? Thick secretions like your artifacts, vomit, and blood. When you talk about suction catheter, this is for thin secretions that are deep. When you talk about deep secretions, you can go with your oral, you can go with your nasal, or you can go with your endotracheal. And that is suctioning, okay? Now, you have to remember that there is a limit when it comes to suctioning. Say, for example, how many seconds do we do suctioning? It is usually 5, not more than 10 seconds. Okay? But definitely, should you exceed in 10 seconds, then you need to be worried about two vital signs that you should monitor during suctioning. And what are those? That will be your oxygen saturation and that will be your heart rate. Because when you suck that air, you're not only suctioning secretion, but you're also suctioning air with oxygen. Okay, so definitely when you also suction the patient, it can induce vomiting reflex. You can stimulate the vagus nerve, hence having bradycardia on the patient. So definitely, if I'm doing suctioning and I see those vital signs, desaturation of the patient, lower heart rate, then I will probably stop my suctioning, oxygenate the patient, and make them recover. And that's maintaining the airway through suctioning. Okay? Another problem that the airway can have is conscious patient becoming semi-conscious, becoming unconscious. So I'll give you an example. Say, for example, this patient is turning into some semi-conscious, then definitely the jaw muscle relax, the tongue can fall down. So the airway is now covered with tongue. And that's when airway management takes place again. Okay? So you have to remember that airway management is starting from basic to advanced. That means we don't go intubating people right away. You go first from the basic. And one of the basic principles to remove the tongue out of the equation is your repositioning technique. Okay, there are two repositioning techniques. First, head tilt chin lift maneuver, and the other one is jaw thrust maneuver. Head tilt chin lift maneuver for who? General patients. Jaw thrust maneuver for who? I am suspecting head trauma, TBI, SCI, or spinal cord injury on the patient. Okay? I want to immobilize the neck, then let me do jaw thrust maneuver. So how do you know that these maneuvers are effective? Definitely, you will see a definitive chest rise. Repositioning technique starting with the head tilt chin lift maneuver. First step, go on the side of the patient. Second step, put one of your hand in the forehead, the next hand or two fingers under the chin of the patient. At the same time, you tilt the head, you lift the chin, doing this motion. Okay? This will ensure that the airway is properly aligned. And how do you know you're effective? A good amount of chest rise or an improved chest rise is noted on the patient. Okay? Next, repositioning technique. I suspect spinal cord injury, I suspect traumatic brain injury, patient's mechanism of injury, I don't want to reposition that neck, then my step will be the jaw thrust maneuver. Okay, doing jaw thrust maneuver, you need to position yourself on the top of the patient's head. Place your hands on both sides of the patient head. Now, you use your index and middle finger to grab the angle of the lower jaw, and then you need to lift it above anteriorly. Okay? So, towards the ceiling, for upward, forward means, okay, this will ensure proper alignment of the airway. You want to open the mouth of the patient, then you can use your thumb to slightly open it up to visualize. How do you know you're effective? When you do this positioning, there's a better amount of chest rise on your patient. And these are the two repositioning techniques. The concept of airway management is you have to prepare for the next step if in case the airway management current in place did not work. So say for example, airway management currently is working, there's a good amount of chest lines, but sooner or later, the airway management might not be effective. So you have to go with the next step. And the next step will be your basic adjuncts. You have two types of adjunct here. You have your NPA and you have your OPA. NPA is for who? Patient who is conscious with gag reflex. What about contraindications? It's contraindicated to a patient who with facial trauma, okay, who I suspect was from a high index of mechanism of injury for traumatic brain injury, okay. I'm suspecting basilar skull fracture. And what are those signs and symptoms? CSF leakage, okay, periorbital ecchymosis. This is not the adjunct for me. Why? It can perforate the basal skull. Okay, so things to consider before you insert. Of course, you have your PPE. Of course, you have to lubricate the NPA. But most likely, you might want to check first the size. And how do you check the size for NPA? Tip of the nose to the earlobe. And it will go like this. Tip of the nose to the earlobe. Okay? And that will make a perfect size for the patient. All right? So, BSI is on, and I will now lubricate my NPA. Okay? Considerations. Go with the right nose first. Okay? Right side of, right nasal pathway first. Why? It follows the contour, and when you consider the bevel insertion, it should be facing the septum. So right will be the most appropriate. So I will now insert the NPA. Okay, I will try to wiggle it. Okay, to facilitate good insertion. Sir, there is resistance. What will I do? Withdraw a little bit. Okay, insert again. Sir, there is still resistance. Then try the other nostrils. Okay, but should you want to insert this fully, the trumpet must reach the, okay, the tip. Okay, it must reach here, the trumpet. Okay, so how do you know you're effective? Then there's a definitive chest rise on the patient. Okay, now let's move to the next one. The patient is unconscious and the patient doesn't have a gag reflex, then my preferred adjunct will be your OPA, oropharyngeal airway. Consideration, size. How do you check the size? Corner of the mouth to the angle of the jaw or the angle of the mandible. Okay, so to demonstrate, corner of the mouth to angle of the mandible. This will ensure proper insertion and the tongue can readily be captured. Now, you have other consideration as to how it will be inserted. Okay, you have two type of technique. One will be your 180 degrees and the other one will be a 90 degrees. The 180 degree state that you should insert it the opposite side, facing the hard palate. So if this is the hard palate here, okay, I will insert it on the opposite side, here. So it's hard. It's going to be hard for now, okay? But as I further advance the OPA, it will soon be soft. And once it becomes soft, it's now my time to turn or switch. And that will initiate capture on the patient. Another way of inserting it is the 90 degrees, sideways. Okay, it will be inserted sideways. Okay, so I see the back of the tongue, then what will I do? I will just try to manipulate the oral part of the patient so I can open it. Then insert it 90 degrees, and then once I see the tongue, you have to twist and have capture. How do you know you're effective? The patient started to have a better chest rise, okay? And that is maintaining an open airway through your adjuncts, okay? Airway that is non-maintainable. Despite your efforts, the airway doesn't improve, we consider the airway non-maintainable. That means, despite repositioning technique, insertion of adjunct, NPA, and OPA, there's no improved chest rise, the airway is non-maintainable. In that case, you need a direct access to the airway, and that includes your advanced airway. Supraglottic airway, laryngeal mask, laryngeal tube, King's airway, and Coombs airway. Short-term advanced airway. When you talk about long-term, that will be your endotracheal tube. Now, when you talk about advanced airway, it involves expertise, it involves resources. That means if a person can intubate the patient as smooth as possible, and that will be your healthcare providers, then we activate them because it's not on our scope of practice as nurses. They have, they can provide the intervention, minimal risk as much as possible, smooth as much as possible, then please activate the rapid response team, activate our team members, let them do the advanced airway for our patient. Okay, so we'll not cover the advanced airway section. What I want is to conclude this lesson. Okay, and to summarize everything and conclude. All right, you have to understand that effective airway management is a critical, life-threatening intervention and skill that is core on the emergency resuscitation response of any hospital scenario. All right. Now, mastery of this concept not only ensures adequate oxygenation happens on your patient, it also reflects clinical competence, making sure that that airway is open so you can deliver the oxygen on the patient will not deteriorate. And that's the total goal of your airway management. So I would like to thank you for staying with me into the journey of airway management, and I hope everyone is safe out there. Thank you.